Hi friends, it is so good to be back with you. I was gone for a short hiatus. I haven't done a video in a week or two. My husband and I took a trip to Hawaii, which was amazing. My daughter is in the Army and we went to go visit her. She's on the island of Oahu, which I had not been to before. So it was a great, fantastic trip, but I am back and ready to craft. I will share a couple of pictures at the end of the video if you're interested, but let's get back to crafting. I've had a few requests to share a project where I layer heat transfer vinyl, also known as HTV. So we'll go ahead and share this quick project. I will do some more difficult projects in the future where I am layering more than one color, but I just wanted to start with the basics for this time. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to crafting. Okay, so I have been requested to show how to use heat transfer vinyl, more than one color, so I can show how to layer. So we're going to start with something simple and kind of work our way up from there. So here's two different colors. I'm going to put this Minnie Mouse Easy Design, which I have downloaded from Etsy. I will share the link in the description below. And we are going to cut this out. The onesie, I don't want this to be any bigger than 5 by 5. So I've already gone ahead and put this in the canvas of Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to change the size here. So I know that I want my width to be no more than 5.5. So I could do that one of two ways. I could I can move in and out here with my mouse at this arrow or at this box here, or I can go into width and I can do 5.5. which works fine because the height of 5.184 is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I don't need to attach or do anything like that because these two different colors are going to go on two different mats, and I will show you what I mean by that. So we're going to go ahead and click over on Make It because I've got it the size that I want, and you're going to see it's going to show us the two different mats that we're going to need to load. So this first one is going to be black vinyl. This next one is going to be pink vinyl. So we'll start with the black, and we are going to mirror the image because the vinyl is going to go vinyl side down, so it needs to cut backwards. So when we flip it over and stick it on the shirt, or the onesie in this case, we need it to be mirrored when it's cut. And you'll see the example of that when we look at this from another angle. Okay. So now that we've gone ahead and mirrored, we want to go ahead and do this while I'm thinking about it too, because we want both of them to be mirrored. We'll go back to the black and we're going to hit continue. My maker is connected, so it's just finding it. We're going to click on this Everyday Iron-On Vinyl. And I always go to the pressure setting of more. I just feel like I get a better cut and it's cleaner and it's easier to weed, so I like to do that. Okay, now we're going to look at this from a different angle because my Cricut Maker has the arrow flashing, which means I can go ahead and I can insert the Cricut mat. So we're going to look at it from a different angle here. Okay, so I've got my black heat transfer vinyl. And since I don't need this whole sheet, I didn't have a scrap piece big enough. I'm going to cut this ahead of time so I don't waste any vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead, we did it 5.5. I'm going to go ahead and cut at the 6-inch mark. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut across. And I can do it again at the 6-inch mark on the other side because all of this vinyl's not really expensive, but it's too expensive to waste, so I do like to use scraps. So we'll go ahead and cut this at the 6-inch mark. Now that is by no means straight, but I do have lots of pieces then that I can put in my scraps and save for later. Okay, so now I'm going to take my Cricut mat and I'm going to line this up. Okay, I'm going to line up my vinyl, and it's going to be vinyl side down. And I'm going to go ahead and put this right on the mat. straight as possible. Make sure that there's no bumps or wrinkles. I find that it's pretty easy to get it to lay flat. So now we're going to put this into our Cricut machine. If you can see, this is blinking here. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to press the arrow to get that in. And once it's set, it will flash in the C, which means it's ready to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and push the arrow to eject that. And now I am going to remove the heat transfer vinyl from my mat. And while that was cutting, I went ahead and cut a square for the bow as well. And I'm going to do the same process here. I'm going to line this up straight as possible and then flatten it out on the mat. So we're going to go ahead and push the arrow to make sure that's in. You want to make sure that you have this in straight. You don't want it to be crooked. You want it to be in there nice and secure. Push the arrow. And then once it's good to go, you'll get the C, and you can go ahead and push that to cut. Okay, and that is finished, so we'll go ahead and push the arrow to eject. We'll go ahead and remove that vinyl. And now we are just going to remove the back, the vinyl that's not needed. So I'm going to do like I have done in the previous projects. And we are going to start from the corner with our weeding tool. And we're just going to pull away from the corner. And I like to go starting at the top and coming down kind of diagonally, but then I like to work from left to right. So I just pull away with my fingers. Gently, so we don't rip anything, but you got to give a little bit of strength as well just to pull everything away. Probably wasted a little bit more vinyl than I'd like, but that's okay. Okay, we're going to take a look at that, and we've got a bow. That's Minnie's bow. Now we're going to do the same thing with the black vinyl with the Mickey shape, and we'll have a lot less on this. So we're going to start in the corner, pull away the vinyl, and then I remove the weeding tool and just do the rest with my fingers. It's a little bit of a tedious process, especially if you have words or, you know, some really intricate designs. I did this one with a simple design just for the interest of showing you how to do different colors, and then we're going to get into some layering as well. Okay, so now you can see that we have our Mickey shape. And it's actually Minnie because we're going to put the bow in there. And now I've decided that I want to go ahead and make this a little bit more detailed. We're going to go back and take a look at the screen, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. So we're going to go back into Cricut Design Space, and we're going to click Done from the cutting that we did, and we're left with our Minnie design. So let's say that we want to add the word Minnie just here. I don't know if I would really want to do that, but just for the sake of making something today and showing you how to layer, we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab a text box by clicking on text, and I'll move it over here so we can see what we're doing. Actually, we're going to go to DTC Brown Sugar. And we're going to just type out Minnie. Now I'm going to change the color of this so I can see it. Change that. I'm probably going to cut it out in white. Actually, I'm going to cut it out in pink to match the bow. So I'm going to put it in that same pink. Now, I can move this just to make sure that it's going to fit, but I'm actually not going to cut it out because I'm doing this separately. I'm going to cut it out all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and move this and actually delete because I know that it's going to fit. So we'll delete that. And I'm going to move this up and I'm going to cut just that. It'll fit perfectly into the black bottom portion of Minnie. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go over to Make It. And you guessed it, we are going to mirror this. Because this is heat transfer vinyl, we want it to cut backwards. We're going to continue. It's going to connect to the maker via Bluetooth. We're going to go to our everyday iron-on. I'm going to click on the pressure, the more pressure. And now I'm going to switch over so you can see my Cricut, and we're going to cut this out. Okay, I went ahead and I cut out the pink heat transfer vinyl and I put it upside down on the mat. We're going to go ahead and stick that into the Cricut Maker and press the arrow button that is flashing. And once that C button flashes like it is now, we're going to go ahead and push that so it will start cutting those letters. Okay, now it's going to flash and we can go ahead and eject. And then all we have left to do here is we are going to, let's get that out of the way, peel up this heat transfer vinyl, put our mat away. I'll put that plastic cover on when I'm done here. I can see that the letters have cut, and I'm actually going to cut this down just a little bit to not waste, because I can definitely use, looks like just a little bit. It's about probably 1 inch tall by 3 inches wide, but I can use that for another word. So I like to save all those scraps. I actually call them scrappies. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to weed with our weeding tool, and then I will drop that, and we're going to just pull away from the carrier sheet. Now this one's a little bit more detailed, so you have to be really careful to make sure that you're not pulling it away. This one's being a little bit more difficult. I'm going to kind of start in the middle here and work around the letters so I don't pull them up. And hopefully that will help. That's working better. You just have to be patient, and sometimes you have to go kind of slow. These are really thin letters, which can make it a little bit more difficult to weed. So just take your time and be patient, because if you rush, you're not going to make it any easier for yourself. You're just going to have to go back and do it again if those letters peel away. There's nothing worse than when you're doing letters and you lose like a dot from your I or a period or something like that. It can be such a pain. Okay, hopefully you can see that says Minnie, and we can read it because we mirrored it, and that's going to go nicely on top here. So we're going to go ahead and head over to the t-shirt press and see how we're going to do this on the onesie. Okay, so we are now over at my little work surface here, and I've got the onesie. One thing I want to show you that I do, because I have lost little pieces that I've cut before. Sometimes you get just a little teeny tiny piece. So I usually stick them together. You can see my word Minnie here. I stuck onto the bow, which I stuck onto the regular part of Minnie here. And that way when I carry it over to my work surface, I'm not losing some of those little pieces, because sometimes it could just be a dot of a color. Okay, so I have my onesie here, And I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the heat press for about 15 seconds. It's already heated up. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the heat press, and I will be back once it's pressed. We're going to get the moisture out, and it'll be nice and wrinkle-free. Before I do that, though, actually, we're always going to remember to take a lint roller. I think I mentioned in my last video that I have a lot of hair, and it falls out kind of at an alarming rate. I have a lot of hair, and it just falls out all over the place. Anybody else a big shedder? So I'm going to take the lint roller, and I'm going to go up and down a couple times to make sure I remove anything. I'm going to go both ways to make sure that I get that off. Okay, I will be right back. Okay, I've gone ahead and put the onesie in the t-shirt press where I'm going to put the vinyl. Now, when you take this out of the t-shirt press, this seems to go without saying, but just be careful, and I'm going to show this in a minute, but you're going to have a Teflon sheet. It will be hot, and so will your t-shirt. So just be aware. My hands are probably so calloused, it doesn't matter, but just be warned. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this onesie, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I want to make sure I line up the sleeves and all the lines and the collar so I have this perfectly in half. We are now going to go over to the heat t-shirt press. I'm going to put this in the t-shirt press. Be careful with your hands. Certainly don't want to get burned. You're going to take your Teflon sheet, put it over the onesie, and I'm going to press this down for another 15 seconds. Okay, hopefully you can see this. There is a nice crease right down the middle. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to remove the bow and the word Minnie. So I just have the bottom portion of Minnie. And I'm actually going to fold this over. This is symmetrical perfectly, so I can fold that over exactly and make a seam. It's easier said than done, but it's nice that it's symmetrical and I can get it perfectly in half. And we're going to make a nice seam down the middle. You can probably tell what I'm going to do here. We're going to pull this apart. It will stay, don't worry about that, just pull gently. Okay, and I have a nice seam down the middle of Minnie. So I'm going to go about 3 fingers down from the collar, and I'm going to line this seam up. To the other seam that I folded. And make sure it looks straight, which it does. And now I'm going to head back to the t-shirt press. Okay, so we are back at the t-shirt press. I am going to put this in the t-shirt press with the Teflon sheet over the design. Now, because we're going to be pressing a couple more times, I'm not going to press for the full amount. I'm just going to press for 15 seconds. So we'll go ahead and press that down. Okay, it has been 15 seconds. So we're going to remove that. And we will bring that back over to my workstation. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I always like to start at the top and peel down. There is 2 different kinds of heat transfer vinyl. Well, there's several different kinds of heat transfer vinyl, but there's cold peel and there's hot peel. I have so much heat transfer vinyl, I'm going to be honest, it's all mixed in together and I don't remember which is which. So I always start very carefully when it's warm. And I start from the corner and I go to peel away. This is peeling away just fine. So I'm going to pull very gently. Okay, that turned out really nice. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to line up this bow. Okay. So this bow does not go perfectly up against. There's going to be a little bit of the gray outline. That looks really nice. So now we are also going to put in our word Minnie. So I'm going to put this, and I can actually fold this as well because I want it to be straight, and the seam is still there for now because I only pressed it for 15 seconds. So that's folded in half. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to put that folded seam. I have to look a little closer because it's not really visible. But I'm going to go ahead and put down Minnie. And I think that looks good. We're going to move over to the t-shirt press. And we're going to lay this flat. And I don't have anything else that I'm going to have to press. So we're going to do this the full time of 45 seconds. So we're going to put the Teflon sheet over and press for 45 seconds. Okay, it's now been 45 seconds, so we're going to go ahead and remove. Again, very hot, so be careful. We'll go back to our workspace. Okay, so this looks really nice. We're going to go ahead and peel away from the top corner. And actually, I think this needs to cool a little bit before we go ahead and remove that. So we're going to give it just a second. Okay, we'll try again from this corner and peel down. And you want to be very careful and gentle when you pull this away. You don't want to pull too fast. That's coming off real nice. Nice and slow. I find it works better from the corners. That could just be a personal preference, but that's what works best for me. Okay, so you can see the bow is done, and now we're going to remove the letters, or the carrier sheet from the letters. I'm going to start from that corner, and that's coming off real nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do one final press without any carrier sheets. So we're going to go back to the t-shirt press one more time. We're going to put the onesie under the t-shirt press, put our Teflon sheet on, and I'm going to do this for 15 seconds. Okay, so I'm back with our finished mini onesie, and I want to show you how it turned out. Really cute. Look at that. I love how that turned out. Hopefully you can see that really well. Just a couple things I do want to mention. First of all, I will post the link for this design in the description below, but I do want to warn you, if you are making things to sell at craft shows or on Etsy or even just to friends and family, even though I purchased this SVG, which we'll talk later about what an SVG is, and if you have questions about that, definitely let me know. I'll give you kind of the short version right now, but we'll get more into it later. An SVG is something, it's like a picture that you buy or you can find in Cricut Design Space, and it's actually what you're cutting. So you're going to put that into Cricut Design Space, and it's going to recognize that shape, and then it's going to cut it out for you on your Cricut. So back to what I was saying, even though I purchased this SVG, someone designed it, this is a copyrighted picture. Obviously, Disney owns the rights to anything Mickey, Minnie, and Disney, Pixar, anything. So I can go ahead and make this and use it for personal use, or I can gift it to someone. I cannot sell this. If I'm going to sell something to someone or put it in a craft fair, I'm going to make sure that it's my own design. Now, if I were to download a design from Cricut Design Space, you have to read the fine print. There's a lot of things from Cricut Design Space that gives you the okay. You just have to read into it. If there's a little A, and I can show you that again in a later video, but if there's a little letter A next to the SVG in Cricut Design Space, you can sell it in limited quantities. But I'm very, very careful about what I sell. You know, I can use the text from Cricut Design Space and make things and sell those. But when it comes to Disney or Marvel or anything like that, I stay away from that. So I just wanted you to be warned about that. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is a completely different topic, one thing you want to look at when you press your t-shirt or whatever it is that you're pressing, it's hard to see in the video, but I can see in my vinyl the texture of the t-shirt came through the vinyl. And that's how I know that it's a good press. That will stay adhered. I can wash this many times and it's not going to come off. You want to make sure that you see the texture. It's not it doesn't look bad, but I love that I can see the texture of it through it, and I know that it's adhered well. So just something else to keep in mind. So this was just a basic tutorial to start you into layering with different colors. You can go a lot further with this. The sky is kind of the limit, and I will show you another t-shirt that I pressed not so long ago that I made, and this was another SVG that I purchased from Etsy. Obviously this is a lot of colors and a lot of cutting and took a lot of time, but this was a really fun design. I made this for a friend's little boy who loves Mario. Again, I'm gifting it to them. I will not be selling this, but that's a really cool design. It's not absolutely perfect, but one thing I've learned with crafting is if somebody wants something absolutely perfect, you know, you can go and buy this at the store or something similar to this. I think I've had to learn this because I am quite a bit of a perfectionist, but I think sometimes little flaws and quirks are what make it unique. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. One thing that was a little bit different is the color that I had for the skin wasn't quite as peach as it is in the picture, but that's what I had to work with, and I think it turned out nice, and I'm really happy with it. So I can do some more projects later on down the line to show a lot more layering. The one thing you want to keep in mind if you are layering is you want to just press each piece of vinyl that you put down for about 15 seconds. You don't want to do a whole minute or 45 seconds when you're going to keep layering on top of it. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, well, if anybody has any questions, please post them in the comments below. So by now you probably all know I like to end my video with kisses from Kona. And I didn't want to do any different today because she was here and anxious to say goodbye. Stick around for a moment just to see a few pictures from my trip to Hawaii if you're curious. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Say bye-bye, Kona. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.
Good night.